that butter melts at a certain rate and flour cooks at a certain rate. And if your butter is warm, then the butter melts very quickly. So if you've ever put cookie dough in the oven and had the cookies just get completely flat and spread out, that's because the cookie dough is warm. When the cookie dough is cold, by the time the flour starts to cook, the butter is only just starting to melt. So what you get is a thick, tall cookie instead of one that's laid out flat. And that's the only difference would be temperature. If I took this dough, finished it, put it in the oven, it would get really flat. Because I put a lot of butter in my cookie recipe.
How long do you leave it out?
I usually leave it in the fridge or freezer for at least half an hour.
Oh, you do?
So I have, oh yeah, at least. So I have here, the batch that I made earlier. It's been in the freezer actually close to an hour now, which is okay. It can be frozen. See, I scooped it all out, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I have, these are called dishers. Obviously your ice cream scoops, everybody knows these. So you can just get whatever cooking pan receptacle you have. And so this batter has been in the fridge for 30 minutes, which is almost basically enough to... Getting the light cooking spray. And then I just know from experience that a 3x4 pattern for this size cookie is appropriate. You don't want to overcrowd your cookies. You don't want them to kind of sit on top of one another. Now what's really cool is you could put a bunch of these, you could just stack them like this right next to each other and put them in the freezer, and then they're good to go. You could pull them out of the freezer, throw them onto a platter, and cook them from frozen without any problem. So you could do this recipe way ahead of time and have these ready, finished cookie balls ready to go. There's basically always cookie dough in my freezer. So you can see how I kind of plated that all up. So before I start incorporating the last little bit, I'm going to get these into the oven. They take about 10 to 13 minutes to cook depending on your oven. This oven here, I'm going to put them in. I have it set just a hair below 350, kind of in between 350 and 325. 325 I feel just isn't quite hot enough for these ovens. So again, we're talking 325 to 350 with a, if your oven has a convection fan, then it should only take about 10 to 13 minutes. If your oven does not have a convection fan, it will take a little bit longer, but don't fret, it will still get done. So now, we can return to this and start adding our chocolate chips. A lot of people worry about taking the batter out of the bowl and mixing it by hand, and there's a good reason for that. There are going to be sections of this where the chocolate chips just don't quite incorporate to because it's still in the mixer. But I like to get the bulk of the work done in the mixer, especially if your mixer is big enough to handle the whole recipe. And then I'll kind of give it a final mix at the end. Little runaways, make sure they all get in there. And that's pretty much it. Again, you can see that people that know me say that they could tell if I made the cookies because they could still see the flour or not. If you can't see the flour anymore, then I made it. So you can see, I'm just going to give this, it's called a folding method. We call this folding in baking. It's where you come with a spatula and go from the bottom and kind of bring the bottom up to the top. And that's a very valuable skill, tool that bakers use to incorporate things into batters, but without, you don't want to get any air out of it. This isn't a big deal, but if you're like making a meringue, you don't want to crush the meringue and get all the air out of the meringue. So if you're incorporating something, you give it a fold. So as you can see, there's our finished batter. It's a lot of chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, this will make about 40 to 50 cookies, depending on, you know, what size cookie dish you're using. This is just a standard recipe or cookie. You don't have to use this. You can just come with your spoon. But again, the resting period is very important. I would take this and either transfer it to a different bowl or leave it in this bowl, whatever you're comfortable with, and just give it a little plastic wrap. And again, the main reason we're doing this is to cool the butter. We want the butter to be solid as possible, so that when we put those cookies into the oven, they stay, I really want them to keep their shape, because I like a nice, soft, just decadent cookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you like the soft.
Yeah, I don't like a hard, crunchy cookie unless you're soaking them in milk. That's the only time. It's the only time. So, now we just wait for our cookies to come out of the oven. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions?
I have one of these.
Yeah, go for it. I'll support that. Go ahead. Raw cookie dough, right?
I think Ben & Jerry's has ice cream, chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
They do. They don't have the cooked egg. They don't have the uncooked egg. A lot of people stress about the uncooked egg. I've been eating raw cookie dough my whole professional career, 16 years. I've never gotten salmonella. So,
is it good? It's amazing, he said.
So let's just stop the video.